The Admiral said it, the way men say things they have already decided. Not a question put to the room, not a plan offered for comment. A verdict. Strike at human space, Vrathsan said, and set his cup down, and that was the end of the discussion. I was standing at the secondary intelligence console on the bridge of the Veth Karas, the fleet's forward command vessel, when he said it. I remember the cup. Pale ceramic, the kind the senior staff used. He set it down without a sound. 14 other officers stood at their stations, and not one of them said a word. I did not say a word. That is the part I have carried with me. Not the Admiral's certainty, my silence. Vrathsan had built his career on the logic of overwhelming force. He was not a reckless officer. That is what I want you to understand before I tell you the rest. He had done the calculations. 41 ships, 11 destroyers, 8 heavy cruisers, 22 attack carriers, and the Veth Karas herself. He had studied the border for 2 cycles. He had reviewed the human engagement records, such as they were, and found them thin. Old conflicts. Distant. The humans had not mobilized in any significant number within memory. Their border beacons broadcast on standard frequencies. Troll vessels were sparse. He had looked at the evidences and concluded that the warnings in the archive were relics. The exaggerated trauma of species that had been weaker than they admitted, or had made mistakes that a more disciplined fleet would not repeat. He was not wrong about any of that. He was wrong about something else, but did not know what it was then. None of us did. Crossed the boundary marker at 0340 station time. The Veth Karas led. Behind us, the fleet spread into standard incursion formation. A broad wedge, the destroyers at the flanks. The carriers threaded back through the center. I watched the display as we moved into the designated zone. Everything was normal. Human space looked exactly as the charts described it. Stars, void, a distant colony signature on the long-range scans, 3 light hours inward. The Admiral ordered a standard approach to the colony signature. Moderate speed, active sensor on full broadcast. He wanted the humans to see us coming. That was his doctrine. Let them measure the fleet. Let them understand the arithmetic. He believed that confronted with 41 ships, any rational species would choose to negotiate. First signal failure came at 04 Wu Twu. The Tarath Dal, a destroyer on the port flank, dropped from the tactical net. No explosion registered on any sensor, no distress pulse. The ship was in the display, and then it was not. The communications officer ran a diagnostic. The diagnostic completed normally. The Tarath Dal was simply absent. San ordered a tightening of formation and continued the advance. The Karas Vel went silent at 0431, then the Orvan at 0447. I was watching the display by then, with the kind of attention that comes not from duty but from something colder. There was no pattern I could name. The ships were not disappearing in sequence from the flanks inward or from the rear forward. They were going in no order I could map. The Daleth Sun, the Admiral's own flag cruiser from his previous command, transferred to his brother, went silent at 0451, and Vrathsan did not change his expression. By 0510 we had lost 11 ships. I want to be precise about what the display showed, because I have been asked this before, and I have answered imprecisely in the past, and I do not want to do that again. The display did not show debris. It did not show energy signatures consistent with weapons fire. It did not show the bloom of hull rupture, or the scatter of a destroyed vessel's drive core. The ships were present, and then the ships were gone, and the space they had occupied showed nothing, not the nothing of an empty sector. Space has a texture to its readings, background radiation, microparticulate drift, the faint thermal exhaust of a vessel that has recently been present. There was none of that. The space where those 11 ships had been was clean. It read as if nothing had ever been there. At 0522, Vrathsan ordered the remaining 30 ships to increase speed toward the colony signature. I do not know why he did that. I have thought about it for a long time. The most honest answer is that he was Vrathsan, and Vrathsan advanced. It was the only response he had ever needed. Every engagement in his career had rewarded it. The enemy either broke before contact, or they met his force, and were overmatched, and the problem resolved. He had no procedure for an enemy that did nothing you could measure. I filed a formal dissent at 0528 and removed myself from the advance order. That was the regulation. A senior intelligence officer could withdraw from an engagement if the intelligence assessment no longer supported the operational premise. I invoked it. I took the secondary shuttle tender, and I moved back across the boundary marker, and I held position there, and I watched the display. The remaining 30 ships crossed inside half a light hour of the colony signature at 6:01. By 0613, the display was empty. No explosion, no signal, no wreckage on the long-range sensors, no automated distress beacon from any of the 30 vessels. No emergency transponder pulse should have triggered automatically on any ship experiencing hull compromise. 40 ships, the entire incursion force, every vessel that had crossed the line simply ceased to register. The space they had occupied gave back nothing. I held position for 6 hours. I ran every scan the shuttle tender could perform. I transmitted on emergency frequencies. I received nothing. 1300 station time, I turned the tender around and began the transit home. The official record of Operation Vrasan, as filed with the Combined Fleet Authority, reads as follows. Forward elements encountered unexpected navigational hazard in contested approach. All vessels lost to hazard. No survivors cause undetermined. Sector reclassified restricted. Inquiry suspended pending further data. The inquiry has not been reopened. There is no further data. There will not be. I have told this account one time before to a junior intelligence analyst who was building a threat assessment file on the human border. She was thorough. She asked good questions. She wanted to know what the colony signature had shown on our scans during the approach. Whether it had been active, whether there had been any indication of a response being prepared, any transmission intercept, any power surge reading from weapons platforms or defense grids. There had been nothing. That was my answer then, and it is my answer now. The colony signature had been steady and unremarkable throughout the entire engagement. It had not powered up. It had not gone dark. It had not shifted its broadcast profile by a single measurable unit. Whatever had happened to 40 ships had not, as far as our instruments could determine, required the colony to do anything at all. She thanked me and closed her notes and left. She did not file her threat assessment report. I checked, some months later. The file existed. I could see it in the system, properly dated, properly catalogued. But it had been reclassified before submission, and the contents were sealed, and the analyst's station assignment had been quietly transferred to a research post far from any border. I do not know what she put in that file. I know what I would have put in it. The Admiral said it the way men say things they have already decided. He set the cup down and he advanced. 40 ships followed him, and the space they crossed into gave nothing back. Not wreckage, not a warning, not even the courtesy of a battle. Just silence, clean and absolute, as if the humans had considered the problem and resolved it before we understood there was a problem to resolve. I have served at the border for 11 years since that day. I do not cross it. I do not advise crossing it. When young officers ask me about the human engagement records and find them thin, I tell them that thin records are not the same as an easy target. Sometimes they listen.